Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing this fine evening? I'm your host, Emilio Wagbar, along with my illustrious co-host Tansy, and we would like to welcome you to the first episode of the My Opinion Counts podcast. Definitely want to say thank you for those of you out there who has been supportive of us on the Emilio's Memoirs podcast and all that stuff. But as we have said before, we are going to start doing, our own joint podcast together, separate of the Emilio's Memoirs podcast. So, here we are. My opinion counts. I'm excited about the opportunity. Tansy, how about yourself?
I'm excited as well. It gives us a chance to be separate from your own thing, from your Emilio's memoirs.
Yeah. Speaking of separate, when are you going to start your podcast? When can they expect?
In a
Now, isn't
couple
that
of
something?
days.
A couple of days? Okay. We're looking forward to that.
Yes, I am as well.
Yeah. So, definitely want to say thank you once again to everybody out there who is watching on the recap, wherever you're watching this at. If you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening right now on our various platforms, salute to you as well. If you hear a little bit of I should say lack of energy right now, it's because we are somewhat getting over this, this cold that's out there. So, we're here tonight and we getting into it. So, 2021. This is the start of the new year, 2022 now. So 2021, crazy
Well,
to say the least.
it was sort of a continuation from of the year before,
Mhm.
the year of vision. Too bad a lot of people's vision was clouded.
Yeah.
A lot of people's vision became um, virtual reality,
Yeah. I
an
mean, but
alternative reality.
but look at what they're look how they forcing. Well, let me say something different because you got people out there that hear this and they're like, oh, they're not forcing anybody to do anything. Okay, everybody has their own opinion. So what I'm gonna say is they're trying to steer that direction with everything that's happened over the last 2 years, with not allowing a lot of human contact, with not allowing people to be in a social active environment as we are accustomed to. So over the last 2 years, a lot of people have been programmed or groomed and conditioned into this new virtual reality that a lot of people are living in right now. So a lot of this I can't say is really the fault of a lot of people. A lot of people, this is the circumstances they was pushed into. So
But we're social beings.
right.
And this is why a lot of people are going through types of depression and other things that they're dealing with.
I agree. I mean, you do have those people out there that are self-proclaimed what you call that, introverts.
Okay, I'm an introvert. However, I do need human interaction at times.
I get that, but then what do you say about those people out there that's actually okay with the lack of human interaction right now and these lockdowns and things that has been keeping people apart from each other and restrictions and all that?
Well, that they don't have to interact with the world. They cannot think that it's okay for everyone not to interact with the world. When you say someone is selfish, being selfish is wanting someone else to do what you want them to do,
Mhm.
not what they need. We need to think about the bigger picture. It's
Mhm.
more than just us in this world. And we were not put here to be single.
Mhm.
It was all about community from the start.
Right.
And that's when we thrive the most, when we become communal, when we become community, not communal.
Mhm. I get it. I
When
mean,
we're a community.
but this is something, especially on this program and previous programs and everything, that we always try to emphasize people is getting back to the sense of community, because at the end of the day, it's okay, you got to take care of yourself and understand that everybody has their own problems, their own things that they have to deal with. But at the same time, like, we, as you said, thrive better when we are working with one another. But at the end of the day, we have been conditioned into this mindset of thinking that it's better to do for Dolo than for anyone else.
But see, this is why there's such a struggle individually and on the wide scale, because we've been programmed, we've been um,
Indoctrinated.
conditioned to think that there's there's not enough for everyone. There's enough for everyone. There's an abundance. How we see it, but we're not recognizing it.
Hmm.
We see that there's an abundance, but there's people who are hoarding this abundance.
Hmm.
And why is that? Because they know. They know. But as long as they keep the people who they feel are inferior to them fighting amongst each other, they'll never look up. They'll never look and see who the real problem is, what the real problem is.
Right. But see, right now, this is the problem we find ourselves at right now, is because a lot of people are projecting the blame in the wrong direction.
Because there's that finger is being pointed for them.
Hmm.
The
I,
finger is being pointed.
I mean, but they did a pretty good job of getting that finger to be pointed for them with all this, programming and conditioning they've done over the last 2 years. Look where we at now. We're so divided as a country. It's like it's kind of tough to have the outlook of thinking that things will get back to everybody being more conjoined together than what it used to be. Like I remember like when we had the situation with 9/11, when everybody came together. Now here we are again with another, big time, situation going on, and we're more divided than we are than what we should be.
Because they they take what they learn and use it against us.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, but like at the end of the day, like what it's the same thing though. Like
It's not the same. So right now we gradually move from just the group speak to now a mass mental condition, because you can't say certain words or you will be
right.
you'll be flagged. So we're in a mass mental condition right now, and a lot of people are not realizing that this is, even though it seems like reality, it's not really reality.
Mhm,
A lot of things are being said, but they're being marked as it's not true.
mhm.
And then if you see a fake checker, they're only giving you part of the context. Meanwhile, they'll create a whole new a statement that was said,
Mhm.
and then they'll refute that statement, which is not what was actually said.
Right.
So a lot of the times when people see that it was fact checked, they'll never go in depth to see what actually is being said. Like plenty of times I posted something and they'll say that it's misinformation. But if you even look at what I posted compared to what they said, it doesn't it doesn't correlate.
Mhm.
One doesn't correlate to the other. They made a whole new statement and then refuted that.
Right. But we've seen this movie before already. Like at the end of the day, we already are seeing that anything that is credible or has the chance of being credible is being censored. Look what happened, we as we just seen recently with the whole situation with Dr. Robert Malone. He's banned off of Twitter now, censorship, because he's saying too much of what's hitting the nail right on the head when it comes to a lot of stuff.
See, Dr. Malone he's a hot topic right now.
Yeah,
But
but go
no,
ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say yeah, but at the end of the day, like, can we also say that that is possibly a distraction with everything that's going on with him?
It's not a distraction. They don't want anyone to hear what he has to say,
Mhm.
because right now they're moving in this. They have to. They're doubling down because
Right,
some there are a lot of people waking up.
right,
There are a lot of people breaking this mind thing that we have going on.
right. But see, I don't see this whole little psychosis thing working much longer, especially this year, 2022, with everything that's going on right now and so much shit that's starting to look, different to a lot of people now. Then a lot of people are starting to realize that the people that we put into place right now aren't getting the job done. And then on top of that, they're causing more harm than they have good in the last few years. I mean, in these last 12 months than they have the whole 2 years that this whole situation has been going on. Things seems to have gotten progressively worse. And it's not to say that it wouldn't have been the same under, 45 or whatever the case may be. But it's like at the end of the day, I'm starting to see that a lot of people, especially with a lot of the nonsense shit that they're coming out with every day, is something different that just seems absurd. I see a lot of people are starting to get fed up with it. But
Well,
it's also getting people so fed up to the point it's driving them to the point of insanity.
and that's w- that's what it is, the ultimate goal, to lose your mind.
I mean,
Because
apparently it works. We seen a story with the mother in Houston that was arrested for having a child locked in the trunk of the car.
yeah,
And locked the child in the trunk of the car because they wasn't unvaccinated. I mean, they was unvaccinated.
yeah.
It's and the scary thing to me is how you still have people out there that sees all this stuff happening and they're okay with it.
A lot of people don't know what to be okay with anymore. I talked to someone I know,
Mhm,
and she's like, I don't know what to believe anymore.
mhm.
But as I told her, a lot of stuff doesn't even sound right.
Right.
It doesn't sit right with your spirit, yet you feel like you're trapped, so you just go along with it.
Mhm.
At what point do you say enough? At what point do you realize that you have to stick up for yourself, or there won't be any more
I
self?
mean, honestly, like with me, and this is only speaking for myself. I actually checked out of this whole shit like maybe a couple of months ago because it's like at the end of the day, life still goes on, whether this is happening right now or not. So I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't want to continue to allow this to dictate and dominate the way I live my life. It's already done that for the last 2 years. Why continue on in 2022? We already know what's up. I mean, we both just been sick with this shit. Like at the end of the day, like people, it's time for people to get back to handling their own responsibility and taking care of themselves, and as well as taking care of their families and their communities. I mean, people need to learn that R word responsibility and that A word accountability, and they need to learn how to be able to be responsible and accountable for the things that they do going forward. Like we can't keep thinking that locking down a whole entire country or mass mandates and all this other foolishness causing people to lose their job because of medical decisions and stuff like that. We can't keep allowing this to shape us and out in the way we live our lives now. As we're starting to see too many people that are getting sick, but a lot of things aren't the way they was at the beginning of this. So it's like, why do we continue on with the same shit when we're starting to see a lot of things aren't as bad as they once was?
We don't know what they were, because a lot of things were driven off of hysteria. A lot of things were put into place to cause a mass hysteria.
I know that. I mean, but it's like people
I,
don't want to acknowledge that though.
that's true. And but the thing is, a lot of that stuff is coming out now.
Mhm.
But they figure they'll let it come out now, and people will just brush it off. But people should be mad that they were manipulated.
Yeah. But see, it's like I don't know. I think pride is still also a big thing because people are going to be too prideful to admit that they was duped. I'll admit at the beginning of this shit, guys, I was pretty duped behind a lot of this stuff, but working in the field and seeing what was going on right away and having a close up experience of everything that was actually happening at the time, then like the way I was thinking about the whole situation started to shift. Even same with you. Like, we
Yeah,
all was duped at one point.
I admit that I was taken in because it just seemed so fast, and
Yeah,
it was every time you turn around, it was theatrics on television.
yeah.
But it started to get, for me, just for me, it
Mhm.
started to get a little too crazy.
Like a little too far fetched.
It started to seem like stuff that I read. See, on when you see it in a movie, as opposed to what you read, when you read something, it makes you think of it differently, as opposed to when you see it on television.
Right.
The television or the movie is programming you, but the book is opening your mind to what could be happening. It makes you see things differently.
Because the book, you're being forced to use your imagination to picture the events that the author is describing within the text. That's why like this whole thing with the like the book club and everything. This is why I like it so much because I'm starting to realize that as well. That you get a different understanding of things more so
Yes,
when
sir.
you're reading it as compared to actually seeing it visually unfold before your eyes.
Yeah, like when we have um books that are turned into movies, they take a lot of stuff out
Mhm.
and then they skew it to what they want you to understand about the book.
Yeah, for the theatrics of it, because it's a box office thing, so you want to be able to sell tickets. So some things you're gonna have to over exaggerate on in order for the audiences to keep their attention focused on the movie.
This is why a lot of the times when you read a book and you see the movie, you're like, "Oh, the book is so much better,"
Yeah,
because it's not manipulated
yeah,
by someone's vision of what they want you to get.
yeah. I agree with that one. I can use an example. One of my favorite books growing up was The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and the book was much more enjoyable than the actual movie. Even though the movie had a lot of like star people in it, but it's like the visualization of the book through a movie compared to using your actual imagination to bring the story to life in your own mind. It's like the book is like you got more out of the book than what you did from the movie. It's like the movie was just like, all right, cool. This is what they would have expected if they was, if this was actual real thing unfolding and it was a part of that story.
That could be. However, what I see sometimes is when they bring the book to life,
Hmm.
it's skewed to the person's like I said, what they want you to get out of it.
The director.
Yeah, the direction they want to take you in.
Hmm.
And a lot of that is mental. When you're reading it for yourself, you draw your own conclusions. You your perception is what takes over, not someone's skewed perception.
Hmm.
We can read the same exact book and get two different.
Understandings of it.
Exactly.
That's what I be seeing a lot when we have conversations about the Bible, and I talk about how, you know, excuse me, how some of the parts of the Bible I feel as though is probably taking a little too literal. Given that it was written in a time where they had to use certain things to describe various situations, an event that they predicted was going to happen.
Mhm.
And it's like when you see that now with what's going on and you match that with the contents of the Bible from Revelation and everything that they talked about in that book, it's like I don't know, it's like you see these same things, but it's like you see them in a different form. Like how everybody says this one thing about how the tribulation and everything is going to be, then you see what's actually going on right now.
Mhm.
It's like I feel that's why I keep saying like I feel as though things were taken a little too literal. Like when I go back and I think about the Mayan calendar and
Mhm.
how the way that was taken literal, when people thought that the end of the world was going to happen because the end of the Mayan calendar, there was nothing else after that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, do you kind of like understand what I'm trying
No, I
to
understand
describe?
what you're saying because what I tell people is if it says you're supposed to use discernment, a lot of that stuff that's there, number 1, it's been written it's been rewritten too many times.
Right,
It's been rewritten by people who are manipulative.
right.
So we have to understand a lot of it is not even real. So granted that it has a lot of truth in it, but when do you understand that some of that truth is not really about the God you think it's about?
Mm,
When we look at it and we think about what God is supposed to be, right?
right.
Like,
To some people, God is just an idea.
okay, whether it's an idea or not,
Mhm.
those like the Holy Bible, the Quran, all of this is holy books.
Mhm,
Is books that are part of a religion.
mhm.
God is not a religion though.
I know.
So when people are like, "Oh, they don't believe in God or whatever it is," I don't really care what people believe in.
Right.
I don't care what religion you follow. I really don't. Each relationship with God is a personal one.
Exactly.
So whether you decide to follow a religion or like myself, you don't technically follow a organized religion, then again, it's a personal relationship.
Yeah, like me, I kind of got out of the whole, organized relationship. I mean, religion. I'm gonna say like probably right after I graduated high school. It was just, after a while, like when you were being pushed, going back to what we were saying earlier, when you're being pushed into a certain direction, then you get a chance to break away from it because now you're old enough to make your own decisions. I kind of broke away from it because it's like growing up in the church. Like I seen like more people were more messed up in the church than when they was not in, than the people that's actually outside of it.
Hmm.
If that makes sense to people out there, listening right now, what I mean by that is, it's like some of the most messed up people you'll find them in church, as compared to regular people on the street that you think is more messed up than the church people.
Exactly. A lot of times I went to church and they're worried about what you have on.
Yeah,
You don't come to hear the quote unquote word of God, and you have to dress a specific way.
yeah,
The word is the word, and it doesn't matter how you come.
yeah. The Bible says, "Come as you are." So at the end of the day, like it shouldn't matter if this person comes in off the street like this. They want to come to hear the word. It said, "Come as you are." That's where we get back to another thing where people take the Bible a little too literal again, like what I was saying.
But are they taking it literal when they're being hypocrites? If it says "come as you are," you shouldn't have to dress to
Nah,
the
that right there, that
nines.
being yeah, that one right there, that's being hypocritical. I gotta say,
But yeah.
you don't agree?
No, I agree.
Mm. I would have to sit. And the only reason why I say that, because if you're saying one thing, come as you are, then why are you worried about how this person is dressed?
How that person is dressed, who they're sleeping with. This is not what we go to church for.
Exactly. I don't care if the deacon is screwing the first lady or whatever the case may be. That's not my business. I'm here for a certain thing. I'm here to hear what the word of God got to say to me. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it. Whereas you got people, that's all they do is go to church to gossip about each other.
Hmm. But as for the church, a lot of people who go to church don't even know what the Bible says. They know what their religious leader tells them. And like it's always a passage. We're going to read this passage. We're going to read this passage. And it may reside with them that day, but what about the rest of the stuff that's in the Bible? What about the real teachings that's in there? It tells us that there will be a time where all of this stuff is going to go on.
Mhm.
These false prophets, these fake gods. This is what I don't understand, because like a lot of people who follow like these politicians or whatever, and they feel like these people are so, they're on their side, or a celebrity.
Mhm.
These are false gods. These are idols. We're not supposed to worship
Worshiping
them.
false idols.
We're not supposed to worship them. But meanwhile, you'll have someone defending a celebrity to the hill.
Yeah.
You don't know this person. You know their persona. You know their facade that they have in front of you. You don't know this person.
To me, that's a little sickening, honestly. Like I see how people go ready to, destroy somebody over these celebrities, especially fan bases of certain high profile celebrities and entertainers and stuff like that. It's like they can't do nothing wrong.
And that's the thing. I'm like, they're putting these people on a pedestal,
Mhm.
and then there something comes out and they're like, "Oh, well, they didn't do it." You don't know what they did. You can't say definitively what someone did or didn't do,
Mhm.
especially when you're not in that circle,
I agree.
especially when you don't know this person on a personal level. Like I said, you know the persona that they put out there.
Mhm.
You know their character that they portray.
Right. I mean, this is why I've gotten to the point now where I don't really like indulge too much energy into like, celebrity gossip and stories of that nature, because it's like at the end of the day, I got my own problems going on. I don't care about the next person's problems, especially somebody that doesn't know I exist. And I don't mean that to be selfish or nothing. Because if it's a situation where if I could help somebody, then of course. But what I mean by that is I'm in the space where I live in reality. And I got a lot of real people that live in reality around me. So I'm not worried about somebody that's an entertainer, somebody that gets paid millions of dollars to entertain me. I don't care about their personal problems. I know they're human. But at the end of the day, do you really think they care about your problems and what's going on in your communities and stuff like that?
No, I don't, because a lot of there's some people who came from these very same communities that we grew up in, and they have an influence, but they use their influence to elevate themselves as
Yeah.
opposed to elevating the people that helped them get there.
Yeah, I was about to say that they use that to elevate themselves.
Look, let's take 2020 perfect example. A lot of them were not able to do shows or whatever brings them income. They took um the things that other people were doing that they thought was beneath them,
Mhm,
like let's say this show
mhm.
that was beneath them before, but then 2020 came, they got to pivot. They're going to use their clout, and they're going to try to
Do the same
take
thing.
someone else's standing.
Yeah,
However, people need to learn from that. They don't care about you.
yeah.
They don't care about any of us. I'm not just saying you, they don't care about any of us, because a lot of people came out then, a lot of celebrities or high profile people came out and said how they were offered thousands of dollars to tell you to stay home. But that was pushed to the side. And you have to look at these people who all of a sudden they care about you staying home.
Mhm.
They care about you staying home, or and
I'm gonna be
now they're getting paid to do other things.
yeah.
Follow the money. That's all we ever have to do is follow the money.
And just to be completely honest, when it comes down to that, like you see, like you were saying, 2020, they was in the same position as the rest of us. Nobody could go anywhere, couldn't work, couldn't do anything, couldn't generate no income because they wasn't able to do the things that helped them make their money. So now they come down to our level, and they do the things that they see regular people like us doing, making money off of it. So they come in, they start doing the same thing. Now they get back to where they can actually move around in the world again and start making a little bit of money and getting back to doing what they do that makes them their income. Now, where's that celebrity support for a lot of these people now? You know what I'm saying? Where's the celebrity support for the same people that they was in the same predicament we was 12 months ago?
That's a, they're gonna you'll see them again when it's time to buy their stuff.
Yeah. And then you also got to think about those celebrities that you got to really think about it. Like, would they, if they wasn't in the position they was in, where they wasn't able to make no money? Do you really think that they would have been doing these commercials and these ads and stuff like that, telling people to do X, Y, and Z, feeding into the narrative? Do you think that they would have been doing that?
Nope.
They wouldn't gave a shit, and that's the point we're trying to make. Like, they wouldn't have gave a shit if it didn't affect them. Until it started actually affecting them, that's when they give a fuck. That goes to say with anybody. People don't care until it's their problem.
And that we need to realize, no matter how big or small, if it affects somebody else, it affects us as well,
Exactly.
because we're connected. Whether people want to understand that or not,
Mhm.
we're all connected. We were
Exactly.
put here as one, but we're put here individually.
Exactly. And shout out to those two congresswomen that seen firsthand that yes, you guys can be touched too. You know what I'm talking about? I'm referring to the two Congress ladies. One that was carjacked in Chicago. The other one that was carjacked in Philly. Now this whole thing that they created is starting to reach them in a different level. It's starting to affect them. Now they care now. But before, when
But
it's talking about defund the police and taking away all these different measures that help keep people safe in these communities, they didn't care until it really started to affect them.
but do they care? I don't really think they care. I just think that it it hit them and they're still gonna push the same narrative.
I don't know. If it happens to enough of them, I don't see that actually being possible for them to want to push that narrative, and then they see that they're not as difficult to get to them as they thought they were.
But see, that's when they decide like um Corey Bush.
Mhm.
They hire $70,000 security because oh they need to be here. As if the money was not flowing to her, would she feel that same way? This is why I feel for this year and going forward, regular people need to start running.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look what's going on right now. 2022, we just started. We only like a week and a half into this new administration in New York City, and look at the things they're doing now within the city, and the year's not even really a full month yet. They're taking away the new Manhattan district attorney. He's taking away charging people that get caught for a armed robbery if nobody gets hurt. It's only just a petty larceny. You can actually rob somebody and get away with that as long as nobody gets hurt.
And if you don't see the ramifications behind that, if someone is a criminal, if they have that mindset, I'm going to take something that someone else worked for,
Mhm.
and as long as I don't hurt them, I can keep doing it.
It
Do
was
we
just
do we understand? Do we understand what door that opens? That
that's opening a very dangerous precedent.
a Pandora's box to say the least.
Yes, because there was just an incident last night where a career criminal, as they say, and I will have to find it. I'm gonna repost it on my Twitter. For those of y'all out there that are listening to me right now, follow me on Twitter at the Emilio Wackbar, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about because I don't have it available for me right now. But I saw it where a career criminal here in New York City was going around and pretending to have a gun doing these armed robberies and everything. This dude did one last night, got caught immediately after, and he's going to be back out on the streets by Monday because nobody got hurt. Do you not realize what kind of doors this is opening? You look at that situation we saw a couple of days ago in the Bronx where they at the a barbershop and they just come in there and they just robbed this man on camera, took everything, then went outside, robbed two more people at gunpoint. This is going to make this is going to make things very dangerous in this city
To say the least.
because you're going to get those people that's going to flinch wrong. You're going to have one of them nervous stick up kids that's going to react scary, and somebody going to get killed that doesn't even have to get killed over this bullshit that they're allowing to go on right now.
But this is how they're gonna bring order. They created the chaos. They're creating chaos,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna want them to create order. However, we need to understand they're creating this chaos purposely,
Yeah, I know.
and they're sacrificing us to bring about what they want. And it doesn't benefit us. This is why they have to sacrifice us. If it benefit us, they wouldn't be doing it.
All right.
It benefits them. It benefits others who don't have to live in this situation.
Mhm.
These politicians who are doing it, are they living in your neighborhood?
No.
Understand, they come to your neighborhood, but they're not living in the same neighborhood.
Mhm.
Some of them live in dormant buildings. Some of them live in suburbs that are nowhere near where the constituents are.
Exactly. And you know the crazy thing about it, some politicians don't even visit these neighborhoods until it's time to come collect your vote.
Exactly.
So what does that tell you people out there? If you have a politician that only shows up in your neighborhood when it's time to get your vote.
So let's see. We have people who've been in office for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years maybe,
Mhm,
but there's definitely some that's been in office for 40 years.
mhm.
And
Career politicians.
if you look at their neighborhoods that they represent, it's actually gotten poorer. Like a lot of people, a lot of people of color continually either continually vote for the same party, continually vote for the same person,
Mhm.
or don't vote at all, which still is technically a vote for the same person because you're not voting them out. And you can't say, "Oh, my neighborhood hasn't changed. There's nothing going to change." You're not making this change.
That's true.
If you're not making a change mentally because you really tired of something going on, and then that mental change leads to an action because every every action has a reaction. So if you are active, you take yourself and you actually go vote your conscience,
Your
not
conscience and your
party,
interests.
your interests, both. Because how you voting for somebody and morally they go against you.
Mhm.
You're just gonna vote for this person because they look like you.
But that's what
This
we're
is our
getting a lot of.
problem.
That's what we're getting a lot of. Let's be honest. Now they didn't really give you a strong candidate or a really strong candidate. I mean, pool of candidates to choose from in this recent mayoral election here in New York. But a lot of people went out there and voted for Eric Adams because he's black. Like, let's be honest. If it was somebody else, they wouldn't have voted for this man.
Exactly.
If it was somebody else, they wouldn't have voted for this man. It's because of the fact that he's skin folk is the reason why a lot of people voted for him.
And they have to understand what Nina Simone said. Just because they skin folk don't mean they kin folk.
Exactly.
They can look like us, but that doesn't mean they are for us.
I mean, to give him the benefit of the doubt. Yes, we are only, a couple of weeks into the start of his term and everything. So, yeah, you gotta give him the benefit of the doubt. But already, and this is being completely honest, and I'm not just saying it just because, but to be completely honest, he's already showing signs of being a lame duck mayor already, and we're just 2 weeks into this to the new year.
Hmm.
To me, he's starting to give me Lori Lightfoot vibes.
And let's understand a lot of these people are only in the place they are is because the color that they are. They want to continually manipulate the black, quote unquote, because I don't know when we became black people, but this is what we're riding with right now. They want to continually manipulate those people. So they're putting all of these politicians in front of us that are they look like us, but they're not for us. They're actually not for us.
They're not.
Like we we also outside of this, we also have a book club and our book for next month. This month's book is great. Everybody should join and grab the
Yeah.
book. But next month's book is really short
Mhm.
and it's an eye opener. You don't even most people don't even have to join, but it's more of if we change our mind, we can change our paradigm.
Mhm.
We could change everything that's going on right now. But it starts with us understanding that we have more power than we give ourselves credit. We have more power than they want us to believe.
Yeah, we do.
We do not need Big Brother, Daddy Government. They need us. They need our complicit complicitness to do what everything they're doing. We're compliant, and that is the opposite of everything we should be doing.
Mhm.
There's a few people who are standing up, standing out in the forefront, being totally courageous. But what is opposite of being having courage? It's not being fearful, it's being compliant.
Yeah.
Because you could be fearful and still stand in the forefront.
True.
Because either way, you're gonna fear what could happen, or it could happen either way. There's something that could be good on one side and you're scared to stand in the forefront, but on the other side, it's something bad and you don't want that to happen. So either way, you're fearful of something.
Mhm.
The complicit part is going with the fear of the badness that could happen
Mhm.
just because this is what they're telling you.
Yeah, but these last 2 years, everybody's been cloaked in fear, especially with all of these campaigns that keep people continuously afraid of their own shadow.
Exactly. Look how
Yeah.
much money is being spent.
They're spending billions of campaign dollars. I'm
No.
calling them campaign
Oh,
dollars
okay.
because of the fact that they're putting all these various campaigns on television to keep people fearful.
You're right. It is definitely, it's a
It's
definite
it's a, it's a
campaign.
it's a fear campaign. Look at all the various look at the various things that we're seeing starting to pop up. These absurd commercials. We'll play together again once you get the shot. Like, come on. They're ruining the development of a lot of children in this country right
However,
now.
as as a parent, as a parent,
Mhm.
I'm looking at a lot of mothers. Like, when did mothers become um how can I put it, weak? Because if you think of a mother, you think of a lioness.
Would you say
You
weak or submissive?
both,
Okay.
both. Because when I think of a mother, I think of a lioness, I think of a tigress, I think of a monkey.
Mhm.
I think of that ape who's gonna jump down and tear somebody's head off for messing with their child.
Right.
Look, what country is it where the monkeys are throwing dogs off of roofs because they abuse baby monkeys.
Right. That was I think it was some Indian country or something like that.
Oh yeah, it could be India.
Yeah.
The dogs hurt baby monkeys. So the monkeys started throwing the dogs off of roofs
Mhm.
because they were protecting their young.
Mhm.
When you see animals in the wild,
I showed you that article, as a matter of fact. Now that I think about it.
oh, yeah. Well, I saw it before, but I didn't
Yeah,
see it
yeah, yeah.
up close until you showed it. But when you look at the wild in the pack, the women are the ones who protect the family while the men are out doing whatever. And when they can't handle that, then the male is the one who makes sure that everybody's safe.
Mhm.
What we're having a situation now where the mothers are just like,
Yeah. like shout out to the mothers that do still, take an interest in their children's health and well-being, and not just because this person says to do it or that person says to do it or everybody's favorite doctor right now tells you to do it. I commend those parents out there that are taking the full stand still and really analyzing the situation and seeing how the things play out before they just go and be so anxious to submit their children to what is still considered widely an experimental phase right now that we're in, as far as this whole doink go. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
I commend them because it's like you got people that are rushing out there blindly to allow them kids to get injected with this shit, and you don't know the long term effects. And I mean that's the argument a lot of us continue to have. Yes, we don't know what's in the shots, we don't know what's in a lot of things. You're right, but at the same time, but why would you still be willing to submit your child to this. If it's you, that's one thing, but at the same time, your child, like, come on.
But it's not even just that. It's the the CRT trash that I believe is wrong. If like I keep telling people, there's no way that you can tell me, telling your child, "Oh, this person these people are the reason why you're being held back. You're never going to be anything because you're being held back by people." What do you think that mentally does to people?
Mhm.
Excuse me. Let's just think about right now. Let's just think about now. How many people excuse me. How many people now believe they are being held back because of the white man, because of racism, because of systemic racism, because of whatever it is? They're not even taking into account their choices.
I'm gonna answer that question for you. It's going to be anybody that's living in adverse conditions or environments or underprivileged communities is going to feel like the white man is holding them back, and I'm just sorry to say that because that's just the mindset that a lot of people are still being indoctrinated with in these communities. Yes, to some degree, there is some systematical things. I'm not going to say racism, but I'm going to say there is some systematical flaws within the current system that does hold a lot of people back. But at the same time, there's ways around it.
But
But,
wait,
huh?
no, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The systemic problem are the very people they're voting for.
Yes. And it doesn't make it no worse when you got a lot of these people that leave these areas that have a bunch of bad politicians running their municipalities, their local governments, their state governments. Yeah, they leave in these areas and they move into areas where the voting system is completely different, and they're still voting the same way. They're still voting these same people into office, and that's why you see in states like Virginia, states like Georgia, and shit like that flip flop so much because you got people from these Democratic states that are moving there that are voting Democrat, and that's how a lot of these things is getting flipped. So what we're seeing right now,
And see, like right now, there's a mass exodus out of
New
blue
York, New
states.
Jersey.
There's a mass exodus out of blue states, especially let's. I don't know how many people I know who moved out of New York City in the last 2 years, and they've gone to uh, quote unquote red states because they don't have any of these shenanigans and their economies are better. But do you still think the same way? If you're still in the same mindset that had you in this blue state and you go to a red state, what makes you think you're not going to change that state
Well, that's how we
to
seeing it.
what you just ran from?
Yeah, that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. Look at Arizona, for example. Like all the way up until last year, Arizona has been predominantly a red state. This is the first time ever that they elected a Democratic president other than Obama.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong. Somebody could fact check me on that one if they like to. I'm cool with that. But at the same time, like all I know is like they are predominantly a red state. And until last year, they was voting red until a lot of these people, mostly immigrants, that was brought into these states, to vote Democrat, and that's how they was able to turn the election in their favor.
Uh, I have my own opinions about that, but
You don't think so?
I just have my own opinions about
No, I'm
that.
just saying, like you don't think that's a possibility of what's
No,
happening?
it's definitely a possibility.
No.
It's just a possibility of a lot of things.
Hmm.
However, our 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 choices are really being subverted because we're being given people who we think is like we have a bunch of what they call rhinos, Republican in name only, and they're technically Democrats.
Right. Now, to the people out there that's watching and listening right now, just understand this: neither one of us have any party affiliations to the Republicans or the Democrats because we both understand that yes, it is the same shit. But if we're gonna speak on a political level, yes, we gotta address it and be PC about certain things. But no, I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. Neither is Tansy. So
I'm definitely not.
just a quick disclaimer for everybody out there for thinking and before they start thinking that we don't know the difference.
Yeah, I always tell people two different sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird.
Hmm.
However, you do have a few people in actually both parties who don't like what's going on.
Right.
But those people are always called crazy. Those people are
Ooh.
they demonize them.
I told you the quickest way to discredit somebody is to call them either a racist or call them a conspiracy theorist.
And look at that. The conspiracies seem to be piling up.
More and more so, it seemed like a lot of things that people used to say that we were saying were conspiracies are starting to come true now.
It's not that it was starting to come true. It's that those people who said they were doing their own research was doing research from legacy media.
No, what I mean by it's starting to come true now is just saying like yeah, like you starting to see that what we were seeing was right all along.
Exactly.
You
No,
know,
that's definitely true.
that's what I mean by that. But like at the end of the day, it's just like it's like I don't know. That's where it gets back to what we was discussing earlier about mindset. Because right now everybody's mindset is this. I don't know. How could you? It kind of seems kind of primal to me right now, in a sense. And what
The-
might be my primal is like they're willing to cut your own brother's head off because they're scared of getting sick.
And to see that's the thing. You're scared to get sick, but allegedly, if it's from nature, do you believe that nature is really going to take you out?
It depends on what element of nature you're talking about, but
No,
yeah.
but I'm talking about anything that's truly natural.
You talking about like as far as like diseases and stuff.
No, I'm talking about something that's truly natural because it was already brought forth
I mean, but
that
anything that's truly natural, yes, you can go eat truly natural mushrooms, and that could kill you if you don't know what mushrooms you're eating.
okay, but that's a chance we take with nature.
Right,
But that's truly natural.
right. But you asked the question: is there really a such thing as anything truly natural in nature being able to take you out? Yes, there
Well,
is.
okay, we're talking about a mushroom, something we eat.
But we have to be a little more specific than if we want
Okay,
to have this conversation because you don't want people out there to misconstrue what we're going.
true. So let me rephrase that question.
Mhm.
We're not supposed to live in a bubble.
Right,
We are supposed to be able to live life, experience every part of life. So if we're living in a bubble, this alleged safety, security, this it's not real.
right.
It's not real. You cannot experience life trying to be safe all the time.
That is true. I mean, you had more fun growing up as a kid when you was running around there. You was scraping your knee up, and you was kind of like oblivious to the dangers that were present at the time.
Please.
Whereas like now, where everybody is so aware and awoke of every possible bad situation that's causing people to live even worse than living carefree.
Well, they don't live carefree. They care about every little thing that they think, like I said, think, while they're being told to think
Right.
is dangerous for them.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like when we was oblivious to the dangers that presented themselves when we was kids going out playing around, life was much more enjoyable. Life was much more satisfying at that time.
We played with the fire hydrant. We drank water from the fire hydrant.
I used to
That
drink fucking water from water hydrants or water fountains
oh
in city
yeah.
parks and shit. Like,
And and and
and
and hello.
you see some of the worst shit going down in city parks.
But now we're stuck to a bottle of water. Now we have to pay for water when water used to be totally free all the time
Yeah,
because they had a hydrant everywhere. I mean, they had a water
water
fountain
fountain. Yeah,
everywhere. Every park had numerous water fountains. Now every park has vending machines. So let's understand how that changed. It's making us more of a consumer. The consumer mindset is being dug in deeper.
Well, even more so now, especially with everything that's going on as far as economic is concerned.
Exactly.
Like I've always said it, and like me and you, we have these conversations time and time again, and I've always said that America is the biggest corporation in the world. So I don't find it too surprising now that you're seeing that, when you go to a park, that you got to pay for a bottle of water. When we was growing up, we can just go to the hydrant or go to the fountain and we can get a drink of water for free.
Mhm.
That used to be the one thing you can get for free. If you ain't got nothing else to drink, you can get water. Now you got to pay for water.
And the crazy part is a lot of these companies are getting our water sources and selling it.
Yeah,
So our government sold our water to corporations.
yeah.
How do you sell a resource that's everyone's to someone else that they can profit off of?
But see, at the end of the day, they're not even going to natural resources anymore. You know that for a fact. When you want to introduce me to the understanding that they use actual tap water for things like Poland Springs and shit like that. Now, your spring water is tap water, ladies and gentlemen. Just so you know. But anywho,
A lot of people already know that.
I don't know because you got right now, like with everything that's going on. Like I said, like we at a point where people are on the brink of madness to some degree.
Exactly.
So I don't know if people know that really right off in hand anymore, especially when they can't even believe when you actually are telling them the truth and got proof and facts to back up your claim. They still don't believe you.
They don't believe because they've come to trust
Mhm,
the wrong people. They trust people that are in front of them. They trust celebrities. They trust these public figures that's always in front of them.
mhm,
If anything we've learned is the person who's always there
mhm.
that usually lies
That's the truth.
because you built up this false sense of trust for this person.
But see, remember we was watching Megan Kelly a couple of nights ago, and we was so and she mentioned something about the noble lie, and they was making that claim in regards to a lot of noble lies that America's favorite doctor has been caught
Hmm.
in over the past 2 years.
No, it's more than the past 2 years.
No, I'm saying like right now in this current moment.
Yeah, but so
We all know that he's a scumbag. I'm just gonna throw that out there. We
I'm
all know that.
I'm not saying just that.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is if you check someone's history and it's always in
Something bad.
something horrific,
Right.
it's worse than bad. It's horrific.
Heinous.
It is definitely heinous.
Yeah.
And you think that now this person's going to change just because they said they're helping you? Jeffrey Dahmer could tell you I was just using
I was just biting them girls. I was gonna spit them back up.
I was just using that as a way to supplement my, hunger. I don't know what to tell you.
But we could actually be moving towards that point now as we really think about it.
Cha.
When they're using stupid shit like that to justify doing dumb shit.
Well,
Like look for example what's going on with California with the female well with the children, what they're doing with pedophiles, how they almost making that legal now.
see, it,
And they're trying to classify pedophilia as
a sexual orientation.
exactly. So it's like I like if we seeing that the writing is on the wall. And what's going to eventually happen is you're going to see a lot of more stupid shit being justified, so we can allow things like that to go down, and we look at it in an eye where it's like, all right, that's normal now.
Hmm.
We're moving towards that. So don't be surprised if you happen to start really hearing stories about people eating each other.
Well, you see, they're trying to introduce cannibal restaurants.
No, I didn't see that. Where you see that at?
Um, I don't know where I read it at, but it might be one in New York, and I think there's one in California.
Now the cannibal cop in New York, I remember him. But wow, that's new. That's new. I never heard that. So they really starting to introduce like cannibalism as a accepted part of society.
Mhm. That's the scary part
It is
because
scary, especially when you think about the supply chain shortages and you go to this grocery store now, you're starting to see, food shortages in the grocery store. It took a while for that to finally start making it into this neighborhood, and we're starting to see that now. Where we go to the grocery store and shit that we would normally see on the counter or aisles that would normally be full to capacity are basically empty right now.
because they're manufacturing food
Yeah.
shortages.
Remember I told you around the turn of the new year, it was 3 straight days I wasn't able to make it into the store. That's how crazy it was. People was in the store buying mad shit. Like it wasn't even no parking in the regular parking lot. It was where people was parking on the side in the street in order to go to the store.
And as we've seen, we go to the store and the supermarket is empty, but it's not messing up those TVs that they want you to have.
Yeah. Oh, you see all that snack food shit. Anything that's unhealthy is definitely there. But you don't find you're not seeing lettuce now. All of a sudden, there's a listeria outbreak with the lettuce now once again, and E. coli is back again with the lettuce and shit.
Understand those that's by design.
Yeah, I believe it.
When farmers were telling us they were being paid to destroy their crops,
That should have been a red flag.
but no, you have people saying that they're lying. Of course, it's going to be someone who tells you that they're lying. You
Exactly.
think that they're going to say, "Oh no, the government is trying to."
Preserve as much food for everybody so that we can all make sure we can eat at the end of the day. That's not happening.
Well, this I also seen a report recently that a lot of those um cargo containers were empty so they can take the topsoil that we have and ship it to China so they can be our agriculture.
Why would we want agriculture from another country though? That doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
But if you look at one of the conspiracy theories, they said that the powers that be said China's going to be in charge. China's going to take the place of the US.
Right. But see, they're also saying too, like, here in the US, there's two people or two entities that own most of the farmland in the United States. One being Gates of Hell, the other one being China.
Exactly.
China is a foreign entity on our soil buying fucking land,
But
agricultural land at that.
but how was that done? Through our government.
Exactly. No, I want not only just through our government, but also through a lot of these real estate businesses and stuff like that too. That got connections politically. That's allowing that to happen.
Yes, but again, it leads back to our government officials.
True. That's true.
It always leads back to the people who we entrust in our government.
Hmm. It's sad. It's really sad when you think about it. It's like, yo, it's like the fact that so many people are okay with what's going on. Like, I don't. It's crazy.
We just have to start. We need to really pay attention. We need to really evaluate and understand. Think about what we want for the future. If we want a future,
What I want for the future is to be able to live life on my terms without having some political entity telling me that I can't because of X, Y, and Z.
not just a political entity, these self-appointed demagogues,
That too. Anybody
because
within that technocracy, anybody from Big Pharma or any of these major corporations that are trying to rule over the little guy.
they've been trying this for hundreds of years, and this is their wet dream. This is their wet dream. This is they've been wanting to take over the world forever. They want to replace God.
Well, we already see they're trying to replace the sun in China.
And why is that?
Hmm.
Because these people do not create anything. They engineer everything,
Hmm.
meaning they alter what is already made.
Now hold on for a second. Now let's go back to what we were saying just now about this fake sun that they're building in China.
Mhm.
For those out there who don't believe what we're saying, how do you feel about that? You're
Ah.
actually seeing like something from out of a sci-fi flick or comic book or even The Simpsons for that matter. We're seeing people actually manipulate nature, the natural order of things, with what they call science. Yeah, it's science, but they're turning science into a religion here.
Mhm.
Science is becoming the god to a lot of these people, almost in a cultish kind of fashion.
Mhm.
Like you looking at this shit, they playing with powers of being able to manipulate the sun and making it much more hotter than the actual real thing. Then that makes me kind of scared of what they may have in store for us going forward.
Well, if you're telling me that climate change and the sun is burning, doing this, the sun is doing all of this, and it's our own zone is being destroyed. How? Why would you make something that's 100 times hotter than?
Exactly. It makes no sense. Like I was watching that this morning, and I'm like, it makes no sense. They talking about global warming and
Climate
how
change.
yeah,
We
climate change, global warming, whatever it is they're calling it these days, whatever terminology they got for it. If they're so concerned about this, why create a fictional thing that is a what a million times hotter than the actual thing, or 10 times hotter than the actual sun,
I think it's 100 times.
100 times. Okay, still, it's like what did we see? Like the center of the sun's core can reach temperatures of about maybe 50 million degrees, something like that. Where we seen like this artificial sun reaches temperatures of about 100 million or something like
Mhm.
that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm.
Like, what kind of long term effects is that going to have on the health of people?
The health, the not just people. We are all connected. The trees, the
Yeah,
birds, the air, water. We're all connected. So, what is it going to do to the ecosystem?
yeah. That's the big question right there. But you already see they're trying to make fucking 3D printed meat. They're trying to make GMO based foods and shit. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see artificial trees start popping up, and
Well, that artificial trees. They have a bunch of artificial trees.
you see they turning people into pods.
We have a bunch of artificial
Yeah,
trees, and a lot of them are housing these fifth generation towers in there. And that's the thing. If they believed it was all good for you, why do they have to disguise it?
But see, it's crazy because I think it was you that showed me in real time exactly the effect that artificial intelligence, well, not artificial intelligence, but a lot of this technology that they're bringing to the forefront now, the effects that it's causing on nature.
Mhm.
Whereas healthy trees that was once healthy are starting to die off.
We have trees that have been in the ground for hundreds of years that's being uprooted.
Mhm.
It like outside of my house, there's trees. The bark is literally peeling off of the tree.
Mhm.
The trees are sick,
Yeah,
and we don't understand why the air quality is getting worse. They're killing the trees
yeah.
so they can flourish.
And what does trees do? Produce oxygen. So you imagine all these trees you're killing off for all of this technology and radiation.
Not just that, they're cutting down trees left and right
Yeah, that
to
too.
build more crap. To build more crap, you need more stuff. So they're pushing more and more people into the cities because they want you to assume that everything is overcrowded. If y'all are in the same city, of course it's overcrowded. But the fact that they're selling 2, 3,000 acres other places, that tells you it's a lot as well.
Mhm.
Because if the whole world could fit in the state of Alaska or the state of Texas,
I would say Alaska because Alaska is like what 5 times bigger than Texas.
Mm,
So I would say Alaska. But even so, if you can fit the whole entire world's population into Alaska and into a landmass the size of say like Russia or something like that, then how overcrowded are we really as a world when you even have here in the United States you have a lot of sparsely populated areas still. Look
mm,
at states like Montana, states like Nevada, states like New Mexico, Arizona, these states where they're sparsely populated.
let's look at places like South Dakota,
Yeah, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, places like that.
the flyover states.
Mhm.
Would there's more animals than there is people.
Right.
There's more cattle.
Whereas in a place like Wyoming, is a possibility you can drive on a strip for 2 hours and won't even come across another car going the opposite direction of you.
But it's about
The
what you show
perception.
people. It's the mental game.
Mhm.
They constantly show you something and tell you something, so it's supposed to be true. That doesn't make it true.
Right.
It's what they want us to perceive, and a lot of it is manipulated.
That is true. Manipulated to the point where it's like a lot of people can't differentiate fact from fiction now.
And that is almost blended into one.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for this evening. This is episode 1 of the My Opinion Counts podcast. We're definitely gracious to those of you who have taken the time out to tune in and listen to us here for the last hour and almost 15 minutes. Before we get up out of here, though, Tans, you have anything else you would like to add?
Understand, your mind is the first piece of land that you will ever get.
Yeah.
So if you can own your mind, you can own anything.
Hold up, I like that. Bring that back one more time. Say that one more time.
The whole thing, your mind is the first piece of land you'll ever get.
Exactly. There it goes.
If you own your mind, you can own anything.
That's a fact. I like that one. We might have to put that one on a t-shirt. What you think? I don't know. Like speaking of t-shirts, yo, yeah, we got our own shit over here now. EJP Entertainment, we are making moves. So if you want to buy a t-shirt, we got more than just this one design. So we got other things coming out for those of you out there who are watching. If you want to get your hands on one, do me a favor, send me an email to nsr.fanmail@gmail.com to inquire about how you can get your hands on one of these. Tansy, you got anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. Also hit us up for the book club if you're interested in joining. Hit us up there. Also go over there, check out aurepure.com. Definitely want to say shout out to our sponsors and everything. Go check them out. And for those of you once again that are watching, please make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at EJP Entertainment. And also join us over at patreon.com/ EJP underscore entertainment. Definitely, we will appreciate those of you out there who decides to join us over on Patreon. We also got a few other things coming in store for 2022, and we're definitely excited about this year. So, now isn't that something podcast by my co-host Tansy launching within a couple of days? Definitely be looking out for that. We're gonna put that on Patreon as well, and we're gonna figure out some other things as well for you guys out there as far as platforms. But definitely stay up with us, stay up to date, and we'll definitely let you know when we got any new things that are coming up and coming down the pipeline. So, on behalf of my co-host Tansy, it's your boy Emilio Wackbar signing off for the evening. And until next time, y'all all be safe out there, you heard? Peace.